Ofcom is calling for tech firms to make the online world a safer place for women and girls. And the communications regulator has just set out new draft guidelines to try to tackle misogyny and abuse. Just before we came on air, I spoke to James Stinson, who's the Regulatory Affairs Manager at Ofcom Northern Ireland, and I began by asking him what these draft guidelines will look like.
Look, Chris, no woman should have to think twice before expressing herself online, worry about an abuser tracking her location, or face the trauma of a deep, fake, intimate image of herself being shared without her consent. Yet, look, we know these are some of the very real online risks that women and girls face today, and many tech companies are failing to act. What we're doing today is issuing guidance that looks to tackle those problems, those issues of online misogyny, pylons and online harassment, online domestic abuse, and intimate image abuse. It's based on a lot of work we've done working with victims groups, survivors, women's advocacy groups, and safety experts. And we think it's ambitious and achievable, and something that could make a very real difference to making the online world safer for women and girls.
And listen, I'm sure every right-thinking person who's listening to this will say, absolutely, if you go online, you will see that kind of abuse. But the point is, they're going on and they're seeing this abuse. And ultimately, what Ofcom is saying here, we'd like tech companies to address this. We'd like tech companies to sign up to our guidelines. But you don't really have the power to tell them to do it, or do you, and you're just not doing that?
So we have some powers which are given to us through the Online Safety Act, which mean that we have enforceable codes in areas around illegal harms and also the protection of children. They are coming into place in various stages this year. This is an extra bit of guidance on top of that we are issuing to try and make the online world safer for women and girls. We think there's a moral imperative, but also it's in their commercial interest to build trust and engage with what is a really big part of their customer base. What we will also do is, once these guidelines are finalised, we put our statement later this year, we'll monitor the situation. We will shine a light on best practice in the industry to show up those who are doing well and those who aren't doing so well in this space.
Yeah, but James, listen to the language. It's about best practice. It's about trying to encourage. When you look at online misogyny, as you rightly say, that already happens. We have got politicians at Stormont who have complained about this, about the impact it has had on them. What has Ofcom done to actually challenge and stop that as far as the tech companies who are responsible for the publications that they put out there? What have they done to stop it from happening?
So we've been given responsibility for online regulation quite recently, last 18 months, 2 years. We've been building the knowledge, trying to get a grip on the problems, the issues, and how you might fix them. So we've been working very hard in this space.
But what have you done?
So in the area of illegal harms, we have published codes. They will be brought into force this year. We have powers to enforce. So it's similarly in the protection of children. So in this year, there will be quite big changes happening in, say, for example, the ability for younger people to access pornography. There will be highly effective age verification.
And I understand that, but you're talking here about online misogyny, which is a real problem. And listen, we've covered some of the other things that are being done to tackle those kind of illegal harms. But when we talk about online misogyny, it's slightly different, isn't it? Because you've got some tech company bosses, for example, Elon Musk, saying that free speech is important. And some people will argue that what they say online is free speech. Now, other people will see that as online misogyny. How do you tackle that if you've got tech bosses who are saying, listen, people should be able to say what they think they want to say?
Well, we will work with the powers that were given by government, and we will do our best to ensure that we are working out what we can advise and guide companies to do. We will shine a light on best practice. We will work to highlight the fact that these people might say, well, we can't do this or we shouldn't do this. We'll say, well, there's an imperative for you to do this because we are being told that real harms are being done here. And we will also make it clear that, look, this is actually easier than you say and think it's going to be, because we've done the research. We've worked out that actually there are quite quick and easy technological fixes. that platforms could put in place to make the online world a safer place.
But the point is,
women and girls.
Point is, you're changing the kind of you need to change the mindset of some of these bosses who do believe in free speech. And Elon Musk is the classic example. And I know he's mentioned a lot, but it's important to mention him. And then you listen to your words, their advice, their guide, their best practice. Now, your chief executive has also said that she is determined that you will name and shame companies that are not living up to your guidelines. Do you think, for example, at the moment, that X is living up to your guidelines?
So what we'll do is, as I said, Chris, we'll shine a light. We'll make a point of saying who's doing well.
I'm sorry, that was a simple question, and you have said that, but it's a pretty simple question. In terms of X, do you think whenever you take a look at your guidelines that you have set out, do you think that X are living up to your guidelines?
So we're bringing out the guidelines, and that is for operators, platforms, services.
No, it's not. You're a regulator. You're ultimately the one that are deciding whether or not people are living up to your guidelines. It is not for the tech companies to decide whether or not people are living up to your guidelines. It's their choice whether they live up to your guidelines. But do you think that X, for example, is living up to your guidelines when you take a look at some of the online misogyny that exists on that platform?
We've made it clear that all platforms and services can do more in this space, Chris.
That is James Stinson from Ofcom, Northern Ireland.